and good afternoon, dear audience and parents. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us for today's parenting workshop. So my name is Hailey, and I'm a child psychology at AGT, and this is my co-host, Darvin, for today. So Darvin and I are excited to talk about topic that is very close to every parent's heart, which is how to understand and support your child's motivation and discipline. So before we start, do you want to introduce yourself first, Darwin?
Yeah, sure. Hi parents, I'm Darvin, AGT's psychologist consultant. So, as parents, we often wonder why is my child so different from their sibling? Or why do certain strategies work only for one child, but not for the other? Well, today we'll dive into the science behind what drives a child's discipline and motivation. And yes, a lot of it starts with your child's DNA.
Yes, and this is where our Decode Talent DNA test comes in. It helps you understand your child's unique traits and ensure you personalize your parenting approach so that discipline feels less like a battle and more like a partnership. So, if you're curious to learn more about our Decode Talent DNA test, stay tuned as we will share more info later on.
Yeah, I guess to what you said, maybe parents often wonder, is it something I did? But the truth is, part of it comes down to biology. So, for example, talk about dopamine, your brain feel good chemical, right? It plays a big role in motivation, actually. So, some kids they have a brain that's wired to seek out challenges because they get a big dopamine release in search of a reward or a pleasurable experience. So this dopamine reward can actually drive them to pursue goals and feel motivated to tackle difficult tasks. And while others might not feel that same rush, so they need external motivators like praise, stickers, or structured rewards.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about dopamine, okay? There's also genetic traits that influence things like resistance, novelty seeking, and resilience. Okay, so for example, children are naturally persistent. They will keep on trying, even failing multiple times, as they are motivated by the learning process itself. So these drive options come from high level of dopamine sensitivity, which help them feel rewarded even in the small successes. On the other hand, okay, some students may get frustrated easily and give up unless they're guided through it more with external encouragement or specific coping strategies.
Yeah, and then there's also like novelty seeking. So novelty seeking with individuals, they are naturally driven by curiosity and excitement. And that can actually be a strong source of intrinsic motivation. So they thrive on new challenges, experiences, and stimuli, and that makes them really creative and adaptable. But your motivation tends to be quite short term and interest based. So they may struggle with sustained effort once the initial excitement fades. So while novelty seekers, they're very enthusiastic about new experiences, they might find it difficult to stay disciplined, especially when tasks become very repetitive or routine. So discipline, of course, it requires consistency and perseverance. And that can be quite challenging for those who constantly seek stimulation. So without self-regulation, and controlling yourself, they may frequently switch tasks or even abandon some projects before they complete them. So, Haley, what do you think could help them in this case?
So, good question. So this is where understanding resilience become important. Okay, kids with high resilience tends to be able to manage setbacks and continue working on a task even when it becomes difficult. But for kids who lacks resilience, challenges can be overwhelming for them. It's because they are not motivated by immediate rewards, or they don't have the persistence to push through obstacle. So they might give up easily or just avoid the task that seems too hard. So this is where external motivators like structured rewards, praises for progress, setting clear goals, and breaking tasks into smaller and engaging challenges can help them engage and provide the encouragement that they need to keep on going.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think all what it all boils down to is that different children they have different brain chemistry and genetic profiles that affect how they respond to motivation. So some kids are naturally motivated by internal rewards, like the satisfaction of a job well done, while others need external triggers to get them started or keep them focused. So understanding where your child falls in the spectrum can actually help you adapt your approach. Whether it's like encouraging them to find your own motivation or providing more structured support to help them stay engaged.
Yes, and of course, again, understanding these biological and genetic factors can also help you choose the best discipline strategies. So it's not about one size fits all, but about tailoring your parenting to your child's unique needs, which we'll dive deeper into later. So actually, understanding this is the key because not all kids respond to the same kind of encouragement. Okay, now let's talk about intrinsic and extrinsic motivations and risk taking versus fear of failure. So can you break it down the two types of motivation, Darwin?
Yes, sure. So we'll break it down into the two main types, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So intrinsically motivated kids, they are driven by personal satisfaction. So basically, they just love learning for the sake of it, and they enjoy the challenge of completing a task. So I don't know, like maybe parents, have you observed your child trying really hard to build a Lego tower or solving a puzzle on your own? It's actually not because someone told them to. They just simply love the process of like figuring it out and the sense of achievement it brings. So this is what intrinsic motivation is. It's often tied to a child's natural curiosity and the passion and the interest that they have in the task itself. So research actually shows that intrinsically motivated kids, they tend to develop stronger problem solving skills and they're even better in the academic performance because they're driven by an internal desire to learn, not just by external rewards.
Good point, you got that. So, on the flip side, okay, some kids rely on extrinsic motivations where they need external rewards like praises, token, or even a simple high five to feel motivated. So, this doesn't mean they are less capable or motivated. They just thrive on the positive reinforcement that comes from the outside. So, these kids may be more responsive towards reward or external intensive that give them a sense of accomplishment. So you might find that they will work hard to finish their homework if they know they will get like stickers or even like extra screen time as a reward.
Yeah, and I think that brings us to another key aspect as well. Risk taking versus fear of failure. So some kids, they're natural risk takers. They're going to challenge it without hesitation, excited by the opportunity to try something new or push their limits. So these kids, they often enjoy the excitement and the thrill of overcoming obstacles. And they're more willing to take risks as it can lead them to develop strong problem solving skills and a lot more resilience as well.
Exactly, Darwin. But again, not all kids are like that, right? So some might hesitate, afraid of making mistake or failing. So for them, failure might feel like a setback rather than opportunity to learn and grow. So this fear of failures can be particularly challenging as it may cause them to avoid tasks or give up before even trying. So it's crucial to understand where your child falls on the spectrum because how you support them will differ greatly depending on whether they are more risk averse or risk seeking.
Mm. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I think that's why creating a supportive environment where risk taking feels safe, that is so important. So risk takers, they need to know that failure is okay. And it's just part of the learning process. So while children who fear failure, they might benefit more from gentle encouragement, like praise for effort, and also low pressure environments that can help them build confidence gradually.
Absolutely. And Darwin, let's not forget about attention span, right? So some kids can focus on for hours on things that they love, especially if it's aligned with their intrinsic motivation. But for others, they get distracted easily. So they may find it hard to sit still for a long time for a long period of time, or they may struggle to maintain attention, even on the tasks that they are supposed to do. So this is not necessarily a discipline issue. It could be more about how their brain are wired to process and sustain intentions. So in this case, Darwin, what do you think the parent should?
So parents, I think, is where understanding your unique cognitive traits can really help. Like some children, they just may have naturally shorter attention spans, and they might need more frequent breaks to stay engaged. While on the other hand, you have some kids who have longer attention spans, so they can focus longer and they're able to complete the task successfully.
And it is important to tailor our approach to their natural tendency. So, for example, kids with shorter attention span might benefit from breaking tasks into smaller chunks with reward or breaks in between. And you could also encourage them to play word search puzzle to improve their attention to details. And as for kids with higher attention, I believe that you can encourage them to learn independently so that they can have the space to explore and build their confidence in managing their tasks. Also, helping them set clear and achievable goals will help them focus and motivated to do better.
Yep, agreed. And I think when it comes to motivation, as you said before, there's no one size fits all approach. It's whether your child thrives on intrinsic motivation or they need external rewards, they're a natural risk taker, or they struggle with attention. It's about understanding where they fall on this spectrum so you can help provide the right kind of support and encouragement to them.
Oh, you're great, that one. Yeah, now that we have covered what drives motivation, Darvin, let's talk about discipline. A common question we always hear from the parents: should I be strict or flexible?
Uh, for example, like if you say strong-willed children, those who are more naturally independent and determined, they they often respond better to like flexible discipline strategies, like giving them some sort of control over their choices. It can help prevent it from turning into a bit of a power struggle between you and them. So these children, they're often driven by autonomy and the freedom to be independent, and they may become really frustrated or resistant if you like control them too much. So offering them choices within limits, like you could say, you can either do your homework now or in 10 minutes, but it needs to be done before dinner. So then they'll probably feel more empowered while they still respect their boundaries because you still give them a bit of choice. So what do you think about that, Hailey? Do you think that makes sense?
That's a great point. Okay, on the flip side, kids who struggle with self-regulations or they need more structure to stay focused because clear and consistent boundaries are important. It's like giving them a roadmap to navigate their day. So when kids are having trouble managing their emotions or actions, a bit more predictability and structures can feel comforting to them.
Right.
So that they know what to expect, which can help them feel secure and reduce anxiety. So for these children, a clear routine or set rules may feel like a safety net so that they can rely on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, this is where understanding your child's unique genetic traits comes into play again. So, like some children, just more naturally more impulsive and more emotionally reactive. So for these kids, like having a structured environment with clear, consistent rules, it can actually help them regulate their behavior better because they have rules, a sort of rules to follow. It's not about being rigid, but about giving them the consistency and the predictability they need so they feel more secure and more structured.
Exactly, Darwin. Okay, now let's talk about consequences for a moment. So, some kids really respond well to positive reinforcement, where we catch them being good and rewarding that behavior. So, for these kids, a little praises or a small reward can go a long way to reinforce the good behavior that you want to see. So, positive reinforcement helps them feel validated and motivated to repeat good behavior because they're experiencing an emotional reward from it.
Yeah, that's right. But for other kids, positive reinforcement might not be enough. For some children, they might need like clear, consistent consequences so they understand their limits. But if a child has a tendency to test boundaries or they don't actually see the connection between their behavior and the consequences, so then that's also where the structured and predictable consequences might actually come to play. So, for example, say if you repeatedly don't do their chores, a natural consequence could be losing a privilege, like screen time, until they complete the job. So this is what we call negative punishment, which is decreasing the likelihood of an undesired behavior, in this case, not doing chores, by removing a privilege, which is screen time. So there's a clear link between like a required task and also an unpleasant consequence. So then children are more likely to take responsibility for their actions because they see the link between both aspects of this dynamic. But also it should be used carefully because You want to pair it with positive discipline strategies like rewards. It can help prevent the frustration and the resentment that you always feel, from repeatedly losing privileges. So you need to maintain that balance between the positive and the negative.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So again, the key as always to observe your child's behavior and temperament. And are they naturally self-disciplined or do they need more external motivation? Or are they risk takers who need more freedom and space to make their own mistakes? Or are they cautious and need a little bit more guidance from us? So this insight, okay, whether they are based on their natural tendency or we can get from tools like Decode Talent DNA Test, where it is their genetic profiles can help you choose strategies that are actually going to work for them.
Yes, I think that'll be very helpful. And it's also important to remember that discipline isn't about controlling or punishing your child. It's about guiding them and helping them develop the skills they need to regulate their own behavior. So when we tailor our approaches to each child's unique traits, we're not just addressing behavior in the moment, it's about teaching them valuable life skills like responsibility, self-regulation, and the ability to make thoughtful decisions throughout their lives.
Mhm. Absolutely, I agree. So the goal again, parents, is to set them up for success. So success meaning success in understanding the world, understanding their emotions, and making better choices. Okay, and having these DNA insights at the hand can give us the roadmap to tailor our disciplines, strategies to each child's specific needs, and helping them thrive in their own way. But then if your child isn't naturally self motivated, um, how do you develop that skill?
Right. So yeah, that's a great question. One really powerful approach that you can try is encouraging a growth mindset. So what that means is to teach children that abilities and intelligence they're not fixed, and they can be developed with effort, persistence, and learning from mistakes. So some children might be predisposed to having a fixed mindset where they believe that they're either good or bad at something, and because of that, they'll probably avoid challenges because they're afraid that they'll just fail straight away. For example, a child who struggles with maths, maybe they'll think that they'll never be good at it, they can never improve, and they'll just give up quickly. But if you support them in the right way and give them encouragement, then we can actually help them shift their perspective and improve. So when we encourage a growth mindset, we're helping them understand that skills and abilities can grow with effort. And what we can try is to praise the process, not just the outcome, but the effort they put in. Like, you could say things like, you worked really hard on this problem. I can see how much you're improving. So that could be able to give them a bit more encouragement about the effort they're putting in and see that they can improve as well.
That's a great point you got there. So, and like, I think a key for developing self discipline is creating an environment that support growth. So, I think routine and structure are huge in this. So, even if a child isn't naturally disciplined, having a clear routines and consistent expectations help them build the habits over time. It's like giving them a framework that they need to develop good habits. So with that said, you should also still give your child some level of control. This is the key to prevent the child from feeling um, like we are micromanaging or forcing them into a situation. So how you can do is, for example, you can say you need to do your homework now, but you want to start with maths or English? So I think by offering them a choice within the boundaries of what needs to be done, they will feel more empowered and more likely to take responsibilities on their tasks.
Yes. And again, the power of structure is key here. It's essential for building motivation. So when children know what's expected, and they can see progress over time, then they'll probably be more motivated to keep going. So if the child is high novelty seeking, for example, they might get bored easily, but by gradually building structure, you can introduce like small challenges and changes to keep them focused and engaged. So it's about finding the right balance that works for them.
So now that we're near the end of the workshop, But before we wrap up, we will leave you with some quick and actionable tips that you can start using today to better understand and motivate your child. So take it away, Darwin.
All right, sure thing. So I think one of the best ways you can start is by just observing your child closely. Like pay attention to when they seem most motivated or engaged. Like is it when they're solving a problem on their own or when they receive praise or rewards? So by noticing the activities that they gravitate towards, you can start getting an idea of what naturally motivates them. So for example, if your child spends hours building like a Lego, as mentioned earlier, without being told, then they may have the natural drive to challenge themselves, and that's what motivates them. But for example, if they only get engaged when there's a reward at the end, like stickers or praise, then they might respond better to external motivators.
I see a comment. Hi, consultant. If I always practice positive reinforcement, will it make my kid depend on external motivations and always expect a reward when he does something? Um, I personally think if your child, my suggestion is you keep doing giving him a reward in a way and until the positive behavior that you want are consistent. So after you see a consistent of positive behavior, then you can slowly phase out your external positive reinforcement. Yeah, but again, along the way, to sustain the positive behavior, you still have to give some external rewards occasionally, but not as often as you used to give them the reward. Yeah. And then this is where again I say DNA insights can really come in handy. So tools like AGT's Decode Talent DNA Task can offer a more in-depth understanding of your child's genetic traits. So if you discover that your child have a genetic tendencies towards things like again afraid of failing, right? You can tailor your approach to better suit their needs. Yeah.
Yes, and it's actually a great example that case study we had recently. So there's a child, let's call him Jack. So he has a natural drive for achievement and a strong sense of persistence. So he'll keep trying something, and even after failing multiple times, he doesn't really need much external motivation. He'll just keep going for it. So his parents actually noticed this early on, and they supported his curiosity with challenges that he could figure out on his own. So he just kept going and kept trying. While on the other hand, they also had another child. Her name's Anna. So she was always like really frustrated and would give up easily because she couldn't succeed immediately. So she obviously tried on external motivators like praise, rewards, and clear guidance to help her stay engaged. To knowing this, our parents were actually able to provide more support and provide more positive reinforcement, like constant encouragement and praise, and to just make her encouraged and keep her going.
I think this example really highlights how understanding your child's motivation styles can change how you approach disciplines and encouragement. So one of the things that I recommend is to start with observation, okay, and is if possible, combine it with the NA insight to get a fuller picture. So it's all about matching the right kind of approach to your child's personality.
Yeah, that's right, Hailey. In the end, there's no like right or wrong way to motivate a child. What works is all about understanding your child's unique traits, and you respond accordingly. So just try to take the time to observe and see how your child reacts to different types of encouragement. And remember, parenting is like an ongoing learning process for both you and your child.
That's a nice way to sum it up, Darwin. That brings us to the end of the discussion, unfortunately. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session. We hope you feel more motivated and equipped to understand and support your child in their journey towards motivation, self discipline, and success.
Yes, thank you again for joining us for the session, and the best of luck on your parenting journey. So just remember that every step you take is making a positive impact in your child's development.
Thank you so much once again. Thank you.